Not right now.
Good morning, everyone. Good
morning.
Take our seats, please, and get ready to rock and roll. For those of you out on Zoom, Blake is on vacation, probably doing a bunker in Montana or something for all I know. Today's topic is MVP. We've got Jason C. from Worthwhile, who's Director of Business Development and Strategic Partnership.
Sure.
Something along those lines. And he's going to talk to you about Worthwhile's approach and process for cranking out an MVP. Definitions, process, all that. Jason.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks.
In a nutshell, yep, that's it. Anything that we figure out that needs to be done worthwhile, we kind of get done. So, title insert. But I've been around here for about 33 years. I'm originally from Detroit. Used to be a teacher. I am probably you'd say an educational entrepreneur. Started a couple schools in my young 50 years of life, and taught here in the Greenville County School System, Anderson County School System, and started a hair salon back in 2005 because I was an expert at hair salons, and I did, yeah. So still up and running. It's called J Salons up in Whitehall Road. So yeah. So again, serial probably entrepreneur, doing some things in my life. But about 5 years ago, I landed here with Dan at Worthwhile, and it's been a fun ride. It's been almost a little over 5 years. And we've done some really cool things. Before that, I was 12 years at EdTech. So I was the Director of International and Domestic Products for Follett School Solutions. Traveled around the world, invented different products for schools in K-12 and higher ed. All that included some really good training on product management. I'm trying to get a product to market, right? So taking businesses to market, taking products to market, and there's a very similar exercise that you need to go through, whether it's your business or your product or anything that you're trying to get people's attention on. Even if you're starting your own YouTube channel, I was just reading about Mr. Beast, this billionaire, right? Billionaire on YouTube, but even his iterations and what he's done and the lessons he's learned. So we're going to do an exercise today. It's really, really cool. Can you shift over to that next one? Yeah, go to the other screen. Go all the way to the right here. Alright, so today, your challenge today is you must design, build, and launch a paper airplane that lands in a wastebasket across the room. Alright, so here's your wastebasket. Okay? And the only rules here, so you can design anything that you want to design. You have some sticky notes for your lessons learned. You have paper in front of you. This is what you're going to use to design a paper airplane. You're like, Jason, this is so elementary. Well, you know what? Business is elementary. Keep it simple. You're probably going to hit the target. Make it too complex. Very simple. So the only rules here are, if we're going to start, you must launch your airplane behind here. Before we get started, I'll give you some more instructions, but pretty much behind this desk. Your goal is to take that airplane and fly it and hit your target, which is the wastebasket. Simple, right?
Inside the wastebasket.
Inside the wastebasket. Inside the wastebasket. There's whole lessons on hitting the sides. Yeah. Sounds simple, but it does exercise the real world experience of launching a product. So before we do that, I need the next slide. You're playing. You can play the video and all that. All right. Let's talk about the design thinking process. All right. So design thinking, this is what Worthwhile actually uses to help our founders and our businesses. We have new founders, startup founders, of course, but we also have corporate innovators. Okay? These are the ones that are established in our business world. These are the Bank of Americas and the fintech companies and all these established, even like Fluor or these engineering companies that are around, construction companies. they have an established business, but they don't have the time or the bandwidth to actually design something or launch something within their business. All right, so we call those corporate innovators. So in early stage founders or corporate innovators, you want to have some sort of framework as you're thinking about your product. Okay? So design thinking process is the natural way to do that. Now some frameworks that I've used in the past are the jobs to be done framework, if you've heard of that one. That you try to understand what your consumer, what your customers' jobs are to be done. Right? So if it's a construction industry and they have to do some quotes and they have to do estimates and they have to give invoices and all this, those are the jobs to be done. Right? It's the same thing with design thinking, and there's 5 different phases you're going to go through to really kind of hone that out. One, first, is going to empathize. Right? You got to empathize with your user. Okay? How many have seen products that people have developed over in the market right now? And you might have an example of those. You can name one. Feel free to name it. But you've gone into their product and you're like, this was built with cool whiz bang stuff, but it really didn't. Like it's not intuitive. I can't get to it. Right? I've seen I just met with a client yesterday, and this is their challenge. They built this thing 20 years ago. Well, now, 20 years ago, what didn't exist? Yeah, our phones. All right, we didn't have old Steve Jobs giving us the great little easy way to swipe things, and there's no swiping, right? This is when you actually had to date. You couldn't go on farmersonly.com and stuff. So you actually had to go and talk to people, to get a date. But that was like, all these apps and things that they have come out, well, they're just static things, right? What they did was they replicated a form that you fill in when you go to the doctor's office, right? You fill out a form. All right, fill out the form. All right, why don't we fill out those forms over and over again? I don't know. We're trying to solve that with some companies as well. But empathizing with the client, right? So if you go to the doctor's today and you see a bunch of elephants,
generally the nurses.
Yeah. So you go to the doctors and you coming in for your annual physical, they give you a what? They give you a clipboard. Still, we're in 2025. They're still giving you a clipboard. Now, if you have a doctor's office that's updated, is everything updated and all that good, and you're good to go, then great. You guys have you got a good doctor's office that's well established. But if they give you a clipboard, or you go to a school, register your child at school, they're going to give you a clipboard. That is, you filling out that clipboard from a product owner standpoint, that becomes, hey, I want to know how long does it take you to fill it out? How long, how many questions you have to answer? How many times did you had to fill this out? Right? If you have to do it every time, or every time you take your child to the doctor, or every time you go into a school and do something new, then you have to do this over and over again. Right? So that's empathizing with that user. So understanding the user and the context of how they're using your product. All right? Anybody have an example of your product? You empathize something for one of your products that you have. Yeah.
I had a horrible experience trying to find a job. Very much allowed me to empathize with people that are looking for new jobs, and that experience and led to my product. So it was a very lived-in problem.
So we have a roving mic. When you got something to say, raise your hand, come over.
Yeah.
Anybody?
Anybody else? Replay coaching.
Yeah. Just as Blake and I both had the same experience of being an athlete in a field that didn't have a lot of coaching.
Right.
Okay. Pole vaulters are crazy, and coaches just kind of put them off to the side. Just finding coaching. And being also, on the other end, being a coach, looking for the dedicated athletes. I was such a hungry athlete that I thought when I was a pole vault coach myself, people would just be clamoring to come pole vault, jump in the air and get upside down and stuff like that. And sometimes I found the hungriest athletes were at a high school 15, 20 miles away, who would want to come, just starve to come. But my guys were just you know, they were a bunch of spoiled brats. Because they had a good coach.
That's good. Right here. Empathizing with your user.
Yeah. So Andrew Farrell with Locker Room, it's actually kind of the opposite problem. So as someone that didn't have the athletic background, but I'm working with high school coaches for my product, you know, it's how many hundreds of high school coaches can I call and get in front of just to understand the nature of what they're going through at the high school level. I knew at the college level what the realities were. And then just kind of boiling down what actually matters at that point. Going in with the assumption that everyone loves time saved, but maybe winning more actually resonates a lot more with high school coaches.
Yeah, and you said something very important because you could have discovered 100,000 problems, right? But you had to hone it down. You had to really kind of hone it down to what was important, right? So what is important for me may not be the same thing as important for you. But if 80%, I always had an 80-20 rule in my products. If 80% had the same problem that was important to them, then it's going into the product. Yeah.
I have a question. I have a really interesting use case because in my situation, running Zenbelly, it's about people with digestive disorders. 77 million people in the country have that. But I'm a sufferer too, so I know too much. I know too much. Right? So I made a bunch of assumptions. I was close to probably 85% of it. That 15%, man, will get you every time. So I need to do a lot more work to sort of put those assumptions aside.
Yeah.
Ask the questions anyway, even though I think I had the answers, just to check myself. And I made some mistakes doing that. So if you're an expert in your area, don't assume that your customer has the same understanding you do. Ask the questions anyway.
Well, I think the solution to that is also just launching faster.
Yeah. Yeah, right, yeah.
Because that's something that I still struggle with, and everyone loves to say, oh, well, with AI, you know, you can develop anything you want fast. But obviously, there's a big difference between, you know, whatever you can throw up with Bubble or anything else, and then having production-ready code. But whether you're an expert or you're assessing over the final details, that 15% is not going to keep your product alive 99% of the time, and you're only going to find that out with user stories.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, and somewhat creative's bias. You know, you have that, you're creating your own and you feel it and you have lived it and then you start formulating that product or empathizing with yourself rather than the mass of users that are going to be actually hands on keyboard with you. Second is defining, right? Defining it, clarifying what success means, right? What does success mean for your product? Well, success could mean a bunch of different things for your consumers, right? Your coaches, it means one thing. But the actual players, the pole vaulter, that that is not getting attention, you know, they're over in the corner. They're just free practice while the coach, you know, works on the sprinters and the long distance runners and those. That the definition of or that success is a little bit different in those frames. So when you're empathizing with your user and you're defining what success means, how do you get the definition of that success? Is it based upon your perception and what you heard from your consumers, or is it something else? How do you define for your users what success means?
Well, I don't think you define it. I think your user defines it to you as you're figuring it out. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't think you define it. Your users define what they're looking for, the solution for their problem, and that's the definition of what you're supposed to be building.
You nailed it. All right. So what I'm getting at is in the first two steps of design thinking, the empathize and define requires what? Customers. It requires a lot of what?
Feedback.
A lot of feedback, a lot of interviews, a lot of customer research, a lot of deep dive. And when you think you had enough customer research, you do more customer research. Right? So back in the probably about 10 years ago, I was going to a bunch of different ed tech conferences. Right? They were all over the world, and in every conference we book about 20 to 25 just user interviews. And it could have been a school librarian, it could have been a principal, it could have been an instructional facilitator, it could have been a CIO, it could have been a student, you know, that's using our products in the classroom. So we had this variety, and then we felt, all right, that's how we gathered our 80% of our product. And we defined 80% of our product by the interviews that we had from our consumers, right? Our customers, or the ones that would be using our product. And what we always had to fight was the business, right? Which the business could be you, fighting the business to say, well, no, yeah, I know that they said that, but this is sellable. This is where we're going to make more of our money to do this. Oh, we're going to add on content packages. Well, the student's not going to buy a content package, right? The parents might not buy a content package. The school might. That's a different buyer, different persona, different user, right? So we had to kind of spread it out to where there's this battle between the business, right, between you and what your consumers are actually asking for. And then, like Abe just said, it might be completely contrary to what you thought. But the exercise of empathizing with your user, because who's going to be using it, who's going to be buying it, who's going to be the consumer, and then defining what success is for them in all those interviews and all that speak allows you to go on to that next step where you start ideating or brainstorming the possible solutions. Sometimes, how would you say, guilty or you would admit, yes, I went with a solution to a problem rather than diving into all the different problems I was trying to solve. Like I came in, the barn's burning, here's the solution, this is what you need. How many have done that? Yeah, we've all been guilty of it. Anybody that has an idea, so let me give you an example. I keep bees, right? So my idea was, speaking of bees, are going to come up. So bee, Dan's like, I'm so tired of hearing bees. But bees, so I have C's bees, my apiary, and spun this off this year, it's great. Loved it, right? I came in with a solution of my bees. I'm going to get the best hives. They're going to be from Australia. They're going to be kind of a styrofoam mix. It's not going to be wooden boxes, and I'm not going to have back problems when I'm 70 because I've been lifting these boxes, right? So I'm doing these. So I went with this solution. And then I said, all right, I need to feed the bees because there's nothing going on. I'm going to bring a solution. So I brought the solution to the bees. The bees, I'm going to use external feeders. What I didn't know, I brought the solution because the bees need to be fed. What I didn't do is interview the bees. The bees would not tell me what they needed, right? I knew that they needed, but I didn't also do enough research with other beekeepers, with other apiaries that were not using external feeders at the end of July. Why? Because there's this thing called robbing, right? So where the other bees, they know, oh, they got sugar water. I'm going to get that. I'm going to go rob their hive. I'm going to go take their honey stores. I'm going to do all that, right? So then it can decimate a hive, right? So my solution, right? I brought the solution to the bees. The bees didn't ask for the solution, right? And so as founders, sometimes we come in with a solution and our users go, I don't want that. Never wanted it. How many have ended up in that trap? You've added something, or you've even spent your own money to add something into a product that your users didn't even ask for because you thought it was being cool, or you thought it would solve you the problem. And what you had was the wrong problem, right? You're trying to solve the wrong problem, right? So yeah.
Good question.
Mike.
I'm looking on a boomerang.
Yeah, I know, right? Get this thing your steps in.
A question on that, because I think that's something that's always difficult when you're trying to think of, if you go in more of the innovator's mindset rather than the entrepreneur's mindset, is it's the same thing, are they going to ask for a horse run, ask for horses or whatever? And I think that, I like what you're talking about with the 80-20 rule, that, it may be a good rule of thumb, 20% can come from the founder, but what in your minds, especially when you think of product design, how do you decide when you are overstepping the consumer?
It's a good question. Anybody want to try to answer that before I give mine? How do you know when you've overstepped in a design as the founder? You've overstepped into use, right? Undue use.
So if you're lucky, your customer tells you.
Yeah. Before you spend money. Anybody else have an answer to that?
Well, one telling sign is you don't get the engagement you want. Right? If it's too much or not enough, it's not that sweet spot, you're not gonna get the engagement.
Yeah.
In my system, we have, I have hundreds of reports that I don't even know, I'm not the admin of the system I wrote, but there's hundreds of reports and the users don't use them. So you've created all these reports thinking that they need it and they don't want it, so why'd you waste your time?
Right.
And you made the system more complicated too, because they have a harder time going through the menus to find what they're looking for.
Anybody heard of the squeaky wheel syndrome? Right? You have a big customer. And they say they need all these things. And within 6 months you can greatly overbuild your product because your big customer, one of your top 5 customers said, oh, we have to have it. But then you just isolated the other 80% of the customers, right? Because they didn't need it, right? You made it complicated, that you spent money on it that you didn't need to. Another indication of that, maybe over-designed it or overbuilt it, is when you have add-ons, right? You're like, oh, this is a perfect upgrade path, right? This is what I was talking about, the difference between the business and the revenue stream that they see and what the actual product needs. It's 2 different things, right? Revenue stream is, oh, we got this add-on. Everybody's gonna, if we could just get 45% of our users to add on this thing, then it equals X amount of dollars and we can make X amount of profit. Okay? And you invest in it, you roll it out, nobody upgrades. Nobody wants this. Nobody's gonna add on the extra, $10.99, or nobody's gonna add the $300 worth of content, package, or maybe it's other videos and replay coaching. Oh, but you can have an exclusive library of if you just do X, Y, and Z, and nobody buys it, right? So then that revenue stream didn't exist. The upgrade path is useless, but yet you spent all this money and time and effort on building something or overbuilding something that you didn't need. So, but that goes back to solving that problem. Goes back to it's not empathize, define, ideate, and you never look back, right? This design thinking process is cyclical. You're going to go back through this. If you don't go back through this, you will overbuild. You'll do things wrong. You'll make mistakes. But if you continually go back and you empathize, define, so you have something new comes up, you think, hey, this could be it. Or the business comes and says, hey, we need a revenue stream. We think we can sell content. Instead of saying, oh yeah, let's totally do that, you say, time out. Let me go back and empathize with my user. Would they buy that? And we've done this, probably half a dozen times in the last 5.5 years at Worthwhile. Even with venture, Dan spent a lot of time, what if we had something that was sitting between a boot camp and an incubator and an actual, launching your business and having your first customers and getting you a set of, VCs and getting you, in front of angels. What if there was something there that exists? Would you be interested in? And then you start vetting that back and forth. Or what if we had an offering that just allowed you to get started, to get up and running, so you knew what your budget would look like, right? So there's a lot of different examples that we can use, but it's always going back through to empathize, redefine, because what the business may have said or what your other big customer may have said, if you just do this, we'll be able to do it. And the worst people, salespeople. Your salespeople are going to go, what if I just had this offering, I would be able to sell all this stuff, right? And this is we've dealt with a little bit at Worthwhile. I don't think I've ever said that. Thing, right? No, I don't. Give me this and I can sell it, or I can sell anything. So but in big corporation you have that, right? You have multiple sales people, 25, 50, 30, people team of salespeople that are like, hey, if you just add that content, right, and there's an upgrade to sell, I can probably add, every one of my customers would sell. Right, so you go through the thing, you empathize, you define, you ideate, and you say, they don't want it. Nobody's going to buy it. You say, no, I know my customers. They're going to buy it. And then their excuse for not selling is, well, you didn't give me that feature. I can't sell your product. You didn't give me that feature. But that's why it's important to have a framework to always go back to, right? So as a product person, right, you are a founder, you have a business, and if you have a product, guess what? You're a product manager, right? You're a product person. It's the same way if you have a business and you have a construction business and you spin up a software to run your whole business, you're now a software company that does construction. One has to be the slave, one has to be the master. Okay? So empathizing, defining, and ideating through that process allows you to get to that MVP, that prototype. All right, minimum viable product, minimum valuable product, MLP, minimum lovable product, right? And somebody one of our clients just came up with another one, minimal likable or minimal sellable or something like that product. All right, so but that's the prototype. That's what you want to take. You know, as a founder, most of your money needs to go into your MVP. This is the minimal testable version of your product. Minimal testable version. That means one person or two personas or however many you decide you need in the MVP, and maybe it's two personas, your admin and then your user. They both can run full cycle through a process or your product and see a success. Because you've already defined the success in the definition. You've ideated on possible solutions for them. You've gone into the MVP. You've created the MVP, and then you start to test and iterate. Learn, improve, and repeat. Okay? Repeat, meaning your product's never done. Abe, I'm sorry, your product is never going to be done. It's never going to be finished. There's always going to be something to do, right? But if you don't have a good process to run through, to design, think, right? Human-centered design, where you're empathizing with your user, you're defining what their success looks like, you're ideating on that to come up with possible solutions, putting in front of your client, putting in front of your customer, going through this ad nauseum, then your MVP is going to be wrong. Okay? We're going to talk about the 4 things that the mistakes that you're going to make, or you could make, or you probably have made, or you might make. I don't know. We're going to try to avoid it, right? But you test and iterate that, and it's a repeatable process. You're constantly going back through that empathize all the way to iterate. Does that make sense? Any questions on the design thinking format? Right? Pretty clear. How many feel like whether you had a format or a platform to do, or you kind of a thinking, version, you've done this. You kind of feel like you've done this, right? You've done it organically, right? Because some of it is the way we think, right? It's human thinking. That's why we call it human-centered design, right? You're thinking this already. It's just now putting the discipline in order to say, no, I'm not going to add that to the product because John said he could sell it, or because Betty said it would be a better product for her bank, right? You have to be very disciplined in the design process. All right, next slide. So, for those of you who aren't here, this is the challenge. You are going to be designing a paper airplane. So, welcome. That's going to be fun. All right, so, go back to the next one. Nope, that's previous. Go to the next. And there we go. All right. So, you have 15 minutes to use design thinking to win this challenge. We're going to go 10 minutes. All right, 10 minutes. You got 5-minute penalty because we went on. All right, so 15 minutes to use design thinking to win the challenge. All right, you're going to empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test, and iterate. All right, this is what you're going to do. You're going to study the throw. You have to start back behind that third row, right where Abe's standing, right? And you have to land your airplane in this basket. That's what success looks like. Okay? So you study the throw, the target, the environment. We got wing gusts? No. All right. Agree on what counts as a hit. Okay? What counts as a hit is inside the bucket. Okay? Inside the bucket. That's what defines that. You hit it. You hit the target. Right? Sketch possible plane types. Choose one design to fold and test. You're going to launch 3 times. You can adjust and launch 3 times. Clear?
Is this a team thing or individual?
Individual. It's a entrepreneurship is a team sport sometimes, but sometimes it's just
I
individual.
feel like I want to go talk to the traffic.
Yes, you might want to empathize with her. What would you like to have in this thing? Yes. All right. 10 minutes. Right. Pacing it. He's pacing it off.
Each thing is 2 feet. Take the half feet, right? Right.
Times 2.
What is times 2?
Oh, yeah, Yeah, paper's there. Now, while you are testing and iterating and throwing, you have sticky notes, okay? On your sticky notes, write the key lessons. What are the things that you had to tweak? What are the lessons you learned about every throw? You should be going back through your empathize, define, ideate, prototype. You might get empathize, define, and you go back through ideate, prototype, test and iterate, ideate, prototype, test and iterate. Think about your design. Are you going to underbuild it? Are you going to overbuild it?
How abstract is it? Does it have to be a plane or flying out?
So you did this in the 7th grade?
For our Zoom audience, we're walking around the room and looking at the founders, trying to take this challenge.
What is a
and
plane
build this airplane.
reference? Yes, yes, empathize.
I've
with
been
trash
asking
can.
the trash can, they're pretty non-responsive.
We want to share that.
That's research.
That's over there into the trash can.
Yes.
That's the primary.
You have paper, you have a starting spot, and you have a goal to hit.
I think the
How do you
trash
get
can
it?
is distinct.
But it needs to be a plane, otherwise I can just ball it up and throw it.
That's what I
Well,
was.
you have an unfair advantage then. You've done this before.
People haven't done this before?
Several times. No, this exercise in particular.
Dan's in practice. All Dan's kids created airplanes this weekend. All right, let's test how far. Oh! All right. He's got a test throw, learn, improve, and repeat. You did not hit the target. Learn, improve, and repeat.
So that's your MVP number one.
That's MVP.
Jason, could you stand by the trash can just right behind us?
You want to bank it? You know, butt banks. Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right, what went right? What went wrong about your throw? Write those down on the stickies.
Figure out.
I see some good under engineering and some over engineering. We got all of it. We got all of it.
So where's the pilot sitting there?
It's the Apollo engine.
That? Well,
The Apollo mission over there.
what?
He's like those chicks that went up in space and they're astronauts. You know, they sat in there and got thrown. Hey, I'm a pilot.
See the Holiday Express. Oh, Gabe's blocking the. Oh, okay. What did you learn? Ideate. Like some of your minimal testable versions. Didn't quite hit the mark.
Oh, that didn't work.
Well,
That doesn't even count as a throw.
yeah.
That's the easiest.
Seems like
I see some trigonometry going on. There we go. Right.
Execution is important.
Execution. Oh, we got some advanced design.
Oh.
Nice. You're almost there.
You probably got a couple things.
Oh! Dan overshot his shot. All right. So in those 3 throws, if you don't get it, take your stickies. Think about what happened.
Oh.
What could I have done differently? Not every business always achieves their target. Not every business launches well. Some founders go, this ain't gonna launch, and I spent all this money and time, and this ain't gonna get off the ground. That was.
Oh.
The weighted ball. I like the weighted ball. That works.
If you guys want a really good metaphor, just wad up a bunch of.
Whoa! There you go. All right, you're the closest to it. All right.
You just gotta go again right now.
Yeah.
One board to the left and you'll be good. Go for it. All right, let's see.
Lot to learn about that design, lot to learn about what you did.
We're seeing startups.
A snub nose, snub nose plane that's almost hit it.
They're landing in the same place a lot.
Yes.
No pressure, Louis.
Bankruptcy.
All right, one more.
Everybody, okay.
Well, to the right.
Yeah. These two businesses are probably do the same, right? Perform the same. Got the.
Which means a better catapult.
I'll sell this
Basketball
to
player.
someone that's interested. Sell the backspin. The backspin is good. All right, lessons learned. Lessons learned.
All three attempts right up.
Close. Close.
Our founding team just doesn't have anything else.
All right, hold on. Before you throw, do you feel better about that one than your first one? The
Yes.
first one you weren't gonna. It's not going anywhere. Good.
I could feel it was a little heavy on the nose, so
Oh, okay. We got a loop to live. Depends on what we're What did you learn about that launch? About that
Two crouch when he throws.
the angle of that launch. Alright, here we go. Blake's got it. Blake's gonna hit it. Oh, it's his
being able to launch the ball.
something with his design. Alright.
Oh!
That was a good one.
I think Lewis is getting the serious end.
Yeah.
Close enough.
You got somebody right next to
Japanese.
you.
I took a design and I made it better.
Oh! So that had good flight pattern, right? It was overshot build.
In order to give a little more distance.
So you have to decide, was it overbuilt? Was it underbuilt?
Too short.
Too short, too long?
Especially.
I don't want to see what I did. Why? He's an engineer.
Oh, yes.
Yes. I'm trying just about everything. Usually we find the most success in
The thing about
earlier,
an MVP is that
but
your MVP
especially like, and
is
that'll
not
obviously
things
change
that
too.
change in real estate, it changes in
This spring,
iteration.
we were reaching out.
Zero. Yeah, so if I had.
Oh, wow, that was
really close.
That was math.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually get closer.
Oh,
That's awesome.
Trash can.
Very good, very good.
It was this close, they hit the.
By the way, just so you don't get this much leeway, he's actually building plans.
Alright, we are in our last minute.
He's working Boeing.
Our last minute.
Definitely.
If you have failed the launch,
Have a monopoly.
that's a whole different problem if you launched 3 and learned.
Oh,
Oh!
that was close.
On your third.
Right there.
You got
That was
closer
a-
on your third than your first.
That was
Throw problem.
That's awesome. Everybody throw. Everybody good?
So one quick thing is no one got it in the garbage can. Something to keep in mind is whoever got closest might actually have customers.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Sometimes no one actually fully solves the problem. It's actually really common. Is anybody that happy with Windows right now? I mean, it's just close enough. You know?
That's good. That's very good. Very good. All right. Next slide. All right. So you have your stickies. All right. We want you to share your lessons learned from your research. Right. You use design thinking. You try to empathize with the trash can. You try to empathize with maybe the room, the environment. You're reading everything that you need to read. All right. So our engineering residents, share what you observed and learned about your MVP.
So what I did was intense research. And I went to AI, and I asked them how to do a paper airplane, and then I went on another site and actually watched how they folded. I did my first test, noticed that it was going to the right, so I needed to adjust its rudder a little bit. I adjusted its rudder, I did hit the side of it then, and then I needed to adjust it a little more, so I took it apart, did a little more refolding. Then I did it and I hit the front of it, so it's really just the thrower, not so much the application that was bad at the ultimate. So I did the Japanese design of stealing somebody else's
Yeah,
stuff and
there
making
you
it
go. Okay.
and smaller.
That's it. So, which is a good point there, because sometimes you can design something, you have a good design, and it launches well, but your squeaky wheels show up, right? And sometimes it's the user's fault, right? The user's they're not paying attention to the way they're supposed to be using your product. They're doing it completely wrong. They have this, but 90% of your clients are doing the right thing, right? And that product is running. So can you dictate, well, this person is my squeaky wheel, they're constantly calling the helpline, constantly the help desk is always, I gotta help them, I gotta spend some time with them because they're not getting it. You know, you gotta consider that as well. Okay.
Yeah, I knew I wasn't going to pilot at Delta Airlines anytime soon. I wasn't even focusing on the paper airplane. I was focusing on how I was throwing it. So like
Okay.
the first time, like I didn't even bring up my plane. I just was looking at where my foot was positioned. And then my first throw, I noticed that it threw straight where I wanted, but it was off to the right a little bit. So my next test flight was like putting my right foot right in line with the trash can.
What is the metaphor? I love that because what's the metaphor for making sure that his foot is in the right
Found
direction?
our biz dev guy.
Yes. Here's
We
a
gotta put
visit.
him together with the engineer.
Right.
Right. This solved.
What is important about that? You guys have done that. Every one of you have done this. LJ put it in, hey, I had to make sure my foot was in the right direction, which is what? Your target market. If you get your target market wrong, hey, you're going this way, right? So that's very important for you to have that. The other thing is share what you did in your MVP, because I think this is actually a good concept and something that you guys need to really pay attention to.
All right, so I looked at this process. I started with the process better. So the exercise for me was going through and doing the cycle of exercise over and over again. I attempted, as far as I went here, to come up with a lifting body aircraft. So if you've ever hit a golf ball, you know the golf ball spins backwards and it will get loft. So that's what that was about, right? So here's the thing about the three MVP things that I did here. If I had wadded the first one up, but then on my second one I folded an airplane, that would have not been an MVP progression. I would be changing my product. But my second one was I changed of how the wad was made. All right, and so I took notes on each one of these things, on each iteration of what everything did, and then which would work better each time. So the exercise is not in the construction of the MVP part. It is following this, and I can tell you that probably the next 3 iterations I'd have a methodology with that, even though that doesn't look like an airplane, that would, by going through this step here, I can make that product into something that works every time.
So you chose to iterate rather than pivot.
Correct.
Which is great. Which is great. So conceptually, and the point is if I start out, if I've done all this work and I've identified my addressable market, I've identified my target customer, I've done all these things, and I start to the prototype phase, it should just be version 0, version 0.1, version 0.2, not version 0 of this and then version 0 of something else. And that means you didn't do the work ahead of time, right? You didn't follow the process. And sometimes it feels like Groundhog Day. You do it over and over and again. You're like, oh, I gotta go.
And you also have to figure out at what time am I going to abandon this
Yes.
and do the pivot.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was noticing in my tests here, that things were getting better.
Yes.
So if they're getting better and I'm getting closer to my targets, then follow that. And then do a balance of, hey, is this economically feasible? Am I running out of money, or am I running out of target? Am I, what is analysis? And that's part of this process here is check that do that test, do that analysis, and then back in again and into the cycle.
So if the iterations don't yield results, then eventually you pivot.
Oh, you had to, yeah. You're going to run out of money. Yeah.
And you only killed 3 pilots in the process.
I found myself wishing I had more shots at the basket. And so I know I was following the rule, but if I was able to deviate, I would have probably cut the piece of paper up a couple of times to have 6 shots.
Mm-hmm.
have more opportunities at a longer runway to get to the basket.
So let's spend less money on each MVP.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fail often.
Yes, fail fast.
So I know I only had 3 throws, so I watched what he was doing. So I got my first 2 out of the
You
way.
watch the market, right? You watch what else you watch what your competitors are doing.
Competitive analysis.
Right? Competitive analysis at its finest. Now that's great.
Good one, good
Brilliant. Brilliant. That's
Anyone else?
awesome. All right. So for sake of time, we're gonna go forward. I love that. I think so conceptually you got some good lessons out of that. So if you've thrown, yes, I only gave you 3 tries. You've got unlimited tries with your product as long as you don't put it in front of your customers, because your customers are gonna get tired of it, right? They're gonna be like, okay, here comes crazy Jason. He's going back with another product, and something different, and we can't even use the first 20 iterations of this thing. So, all right. So next next slide. All right. Okay. 4 mistakes. Get back up. 4 mistakes. Or go back one more. I think there's one more. Yeah, there we go. Okay. There we go. All right. So exercise and practice. All right. Mapping to reality. So this is what typically, so we take at Worthwhile, we take the concept of design thinking, and we break it out into different things, all right? So we call these offerings, right? Stages: strategy, design, MVP, build, launch, and innovate. Okay, so what I wanted to do is say, all right, well, design thinking framework is this way. But at Worthwhile, what we did is we created this we said, all right, yes, that's a great thing for every one of our clients to do. If they're building a new product, if they're rejuvenating their old products, if they're modernizing what they have, if they're building a new business. Doesn't matter what it is. Strategy, design, build, launch, and innovate have to be the core 5 things that they do. And we have to, at Worthwhile, make sure that we can facilitate that. We have to have the staff, the expertise on hand. We have to make sure that we follow the rules of design thinking to take our clients through the strategy, design, and build. So this is what we did. So in the airplane challenge, you define what success looked like, hitting the basket. In your startup, you have to clarify the user needs and business value. So these go back and forth with, hey, MVP build, you folded the one design to test. Okay? In software, we kind of have to really spend a lot of time on strategy and design to make sure that when we're spending our money on the build, that we're not wasting it. So the more time that we spend here to get it right, and use a technology partner, please. All right, don't go overseas. I know some of you want to go overseas. It's cheaper. Don't do this, because it's the difference between going through a fast food restaurant and going to halls and getting served. Okay? Just telling you, we see it all the time. And our clients, a lot of our clients, probably half of our clients, come from those particular environments of that experience. So, strategy and design. These are the things that are really going to put you in the driver's seat. Once you get here, you should have the confidence of a partner that says, yes, when we get you to here to MVP build and we say, hey, this is how much it's going to cost you to build your MVP, and this is the minimum viable, take it to the bank. This is exactly what we mean. Because we have already gone through these steps with you. We will never build an MVP based upon a PRD that you bring me. You can bring me a product requirement document all day long. And that's fine. But we're still going to go through strategy and design, because I want to make sure that your product requirement document's right. Did you do the due diligence in your clients, right? So it's the way that we kind of formulate that, from mapping it to reality. What happens in the real world is strategy, design, MVP, launch, and innovate. You want to continue to do it. Yeah.
So I think we're all some way or another tech-enabled in this cohort.
Sure.
And so I think the issue with tech is exactly what you're saying, is that so often you get caught. I literally probably had a 35-page PRD by the end of it, because we're working with talking to product managers, project managers, everybody that you can possibly imagine. And then all of a sudden you start to deviate because you find what works. And that's the hard part, right? You have to be open to customer feedback, but you're also, it's hard as a startup. It's one thing when you're Walmart, you say, I'm not doing that.
Yes.
But as a startup, you want to try to innovate alongside the customer. And with technology especially, you try to deviate towards this concept of the tech mode. And if I do this in a different manner or implement this differently, then I'm not so easily replicable. how do you, as somebody that's bringing a lot more into technology, as that tech partner, how do you decide when it's worth it to infuse that technology versus when you just got to get into market?
Good question. So there's a core concept that I follow, Worthwhile follows pretty much to the T. And it's a heart and mindset, right? It's a head and heart mindset rather than an expertise, because we've been in the field for 30 plus years. And that is to care more about the business than the product or the project. Care more about the business. You guys care about the business that you're formulating. The tech should just support that care. It should never supersede that care, because then you become a product servant rather than a people servant, right? So it's a mindset that we have to say, all right, I care more about your business than your product, so I spend more time. If you came to me and said, Jason, I really need you to help me with business, we need to launch this thing, and blah, 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 that launch would be determined by our relationship and our conversation about your business first. Where do you want to go with this thing? Do you want to exit in 10 years? Okay, what do you have to talk about that, right? Care more about the business than the product is going to be spawned from that care, right? Then you're going to get the product right. I've never really been worried about us coming into an engagement with a young company or even an existing company that I feel like, oh yeah, we're going to get the product wrong. The product's always been right. But the care and the time that you spend, not everybody wants to spend. So if you start shortcutting that, right? Or you start shortcutting yourself and say, oh, I don't need that much time, or I don't need to spend that money on the customer research or the competitive research or figure out my TAM, SOM, and SAM. I don't have to do that. Which we have some people that come in and say, hey, can you do that? Like, don't worry about that. I've got all that here. We'll just build my technology. And I'm like, no, we're not the partner for you, because I care more about your business, making sure that's grounded, and then you birth this child of technology rather than your family's dysfunctional and then now that technology's orphaned somewhere. So hopefully that answers your question. And then there's also analysis paralysis that can kind of get into the weeds, right? You don't want to be so focused on getting the tech right that you miss it, because you're so hyper focused on the tech's wrong and we got to tweak and you spend all this time, and it sucks the time and you forget to work on the business because you're working in the business, right? That is not a good scenario, right? So you do have to balance your time with that. And then you have to determine, all right, well, this is truly the MVP, I gotta trust it, right? Because we've done all this research, I gotta trust it now, we gotta launch it, we gotta launch, right? And then we gotta iterate, and then we gotta fix it, right? Make it viable, right? Yeah.
And you have to do that all by yourself with no team and no resources and no money, because that's the challenge, right?
That's the challenge.
Right? And that's the work. It's
we live in a pay-for-play world. I mean, you pay to play. And yes, companies that come in and they want to, be corporate innovators, they have these budgets. Oh yeah, we have $1.5 million, allocated to this, and sure, okay. Well, our solution for you and your MVP might only cost like $500,000. All right, but you have it and you're not sweating it. Founders were different, right? If my bees failed this year, guess what? All my funding that I just spent on bees and bee equipment and stuff and treatments and sugar and water, all that stuff, it's over with. Bees died, right? I over-engineered the bees, right? I gave them something they didn't need, right? And then you can kill your business. So I mean, it's just kind of. So
one of the things. Can I just say
Yeah,
something?
go ahead.
One of the things that annoys me with software companies, they no longer have steering committees.
Oh yeah.
And that's a steering committee is your top clients that get together and pitch what they need and stuff like that. The nice thing about that is you could not implement some stuff and blame it on others and priorities and stuff like that, but that's who's telling you what to build. I mean, and it's free. And
100%.
the clients get a better buy-in because they want to be part of that.
Yeah.
And I find it very hard that
It's
I
actually-
ask some of my software companies to do that and they don't.
Glad
do
you
it.
said that, because that is actually one of the key things and the key values to Worthwhile's Venture Studio. Is we say, all right, you gotta have a board. You gotta formulate your customers, people that are gonna be using your solution. They gotta be your advisory board. If we can't get an advisory board, you're gonna be off. Yeah, you're gonna miss it. So a few things: 4 mistakes, skip strategic alignment. the thinking is, oh, we'll just get it out there, right? Oh, we'll just throw it. We'll just throw the plane. It'll get there. Reality is, you start building before you align the vision to the user's problems, you're wasting time and budget, right? Or you get funded, and you hire all your buddies, and they don't sell, they don't do, they don't work, they don't, design, they don't talk to your customers, they don't do the things that you're supposed to do, and then your time and budget's gone, right? You waste all your funding on just hiring people that you thought were going to be to do the job, they didn't. Instead of contracting out and taking a lower risk, right? Rather than having overhead and salaries. All right, so you throw the plane, you fold the plane, you wad up your ball, and you throw it without defining the mission. Where's the basket? Is it more accurate? You didn't check your feet. Was there folding involved? Who was throwing it, right? Did I have my COO throwing it? Did I have my CTO throwing it? Do I just have my child who's an end user throw it? Different, right? 2, so 1, skip strategic alignment, which is what we do. We start every engagement aligning goals, constraints, values of the end user. Number 2 is you might make the mistake of getting the design wrong. All right, you got the design wrong. Okay, you skipped strategic alignment. All right, you didn't get it right. All right, or you did strategic alignment, but you just got the design wrong. All right, thinking is it's just a product. It's just tech. It doesn't really need to be perfect, right? It doesn't. Or let's make something really advanced and cool. You overbuilt it. Ooh, I know what they really want. Oh, this would be really cool if we could. Oh, let's use AI to do. The reality is design should be driven by purpose, not speed or vanity. Oh, that is a tough word, isn't it?
Could you say more about the speed thing? Because there's a lot of noise out there about, especially
especially in AI, right? Especially in AI.
Yeah.
It's not by speed. Like again, speed, where you're gonna get people talking about speed is something that, oh, we have off the shelf, we can solve that. We can solve all your problems with something that's off the shelf. You don't need to build it. Or, oh yeah, we can totally build that for you. It'll be ready in 2 months, and you ship it overseas, and then you don't hear from them, and then 2 months later they say, hey, we need $15,000 more because you said we do it. Oh, well, it's not ready yet. Oh, well, we can't get it out. All right, here it is, and it's completely, not QA, it's completely wrong, right? Speed is almost the enemy to innovation sometimes because you get so wrapped up in getting it out there that you're wrong, right? There's client exhaust. It's real, right? Your clients, they buy your product, they like the MVP of the product, they've been using it, you start adding all these weird things to it, it's not working right, you're going on the cheap, you're trying to get out as fast as you can, it's not exactly right, and then you just burn them out, and they get tired of using it. Especially if they're using 2 systems because they're trying to migrate to yours, and they have their incumbent, they're going to go right back to the incumbent. Right, you're going to burn them out. So, connection to challenge, some planes are rushed, fly poorly, others are over-engineered with complex folds and fins, they don't fly at all. So, our worthwhile tip is design is problem solving. If you use your design sprints to produce lean, testable, purpose-driven prototypes, I'm saying you build the MVP and then you do little sprints. You just build one little thing, and it doesn't confuse your clients. And you make sure you have the training with it. You make sure you have the hands-on, the manipulatives, all that thing that they need to actually use it. And you introduce it in a way that is not just, oh hey, surprise, we have an update. I have no idea what's going on in my Apple update. No idea. No idea. I just trust Apple. Sometimes it works, sometimes not. A little bit better than Android, but but still. So getting the design wrong. 3, building the wrong MVP. All right. The thinking is errant thinking. Let's just launch and see what happens. Let's launch it. See what happens. In reality, an MVP isn't about launching fast. It's about learning fast. Right. Learning fast, failing fast. Learn fast. Iterative. Connection to the challenge, you build the plane, it's either too flimsy to reach the target, it stops halfway, or it's feature rich, it collapses in midair, hits the ceiling, things like that. All right, so, in worthwhile here, a great MVP balances minimal with viable. Minimal with viable, okay? Startups should be de-risked with testable prototypes that generate real insights, not guesswork. Okay? Your design and your MVP become really, really, really important. Don't build the wrong MVP. You can build a wrong MVP on your own. You can partner up and build it right. 4 is don't learn from the launch. You don't learn from the launch. Like that means that don't learn from the launch. It means you don't learn from the launch, right? We missed. Oh well. But your customers will get used to it. It's fine. We didn't get it right. That'll be fine, right? The reality is if you're not learning from each time you release it, you're just guessing. If you don't take your notes, if you don't go through the process, if you don't empathize, if you don't have your interviews, if you don't re-interview, if you don't have an advisory board that can tell you, hey, that last release sucked, roll that thing back. Don't ever do that again. So after your first flight, you have to ask, okay, what went wrong? Okay, what can we change without starting over, right? You ball up a different way, right? We're not starting the MVP all over again. How do we test one variable at a time? How do we just do one test? How do we ask our clients just to do one thing? Hey, go in there, log in, pay that bill. Does it work? Is it good? Is it a good experience? Okay, good. Check. That's good. Product success comes from learning loops. Learning loops. You must build iteration into every sprint to drive continuous improvement, user validation. Yes, you have tech debt. Yes, you have all these things, right? But you have to build an iteration to keep going. All right, and then last 4 things, wrapping it up, is consider this. Old ways won't open new doors. So think about what you need to start doing, stop doing, or continue doing, right? Even in your world, all right? In the design thinking framework, all right, think about it. What'd you learn from throwing an airplane today? That's probably gonna stick in your mind more than anything you do today, right? I threw airplanes today. Your wife's gonna be like, why? Right? Kids are gonna be like, cool, Dad, that's awesome. All right, so start, stop, and continue. What do you need to start doing now in relationship to what we talked about today? What do you need to stop doing? Right? Do you need to stop not going and asking your clients more questions? Do you need to start doing interviews, or do you need to continue doing what you're doing? Are you doing the right things? You know that thing. Thanks, Tim. Old ways won't open new doors. And then finally, of course, worthwhile. We have Venture Studio. We're the gap that fills the things. And as we continue to go forward, what I wanted to show you is these 9 things. Next. All right. Yeah. So at Worthwhile, we of course help companies innovate, minimize risk, and find the product market fit. That's the biggest thing. Provide innovative companies with invaluable business and technical. We've been in the business. We care more about your business than the project, but we do want your business to succeed. We try to minimize the risk for you. And as we go forward, the services, there's 9 different service areas that we provide. So sometimes people are like, oh, well, I want to do Venture Studio, but I can't do all of it. Right? That's okay. That's a conversation to say, hey, I need some UI UX design, I need some engineering, and maybe some fundraising. So come to Worthwhile, let us put a package together for that. We call it Venture Start. There's some variations of it. It's not, the big, full $125,000 Venture Studio. You've already done a lot of the legwork. So let's help you with some of these good things. As we go forward, last one. There we go. All right, there we go. A little bit about us. 4 to 5 times ROI for our clients that stick with us, 2 times customer satisfaction. Partnership model, we've been 30+ years in the business. Like I said, we've done a lot of cool things. We don't try, I say I can sell anything, but I don't sell you anything. I don't even let you buy anything from me unless this is really what you need. I'd love to have the conversation. As you get down the road, you see a need to have a technology partner, please at least have a conversation with me first before you select somebody that's not in the States or somebody that I might know. That's not good. That's not good for you.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
One of the things he talks about not out of state, our current software developers are in Latin America and they're all spread across. And they're all nice guys.
Yep.
But again, they're out of the States. And their lead time to fix bugs in our mobile app is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I could, because I've been doing this, I could build a new system in half a day. These guys can't even fix their bug in a week, which I think is.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of that. We have a client here downtown, recently moved downtown that's in the same situation. And we just, they thanked us on Thursday, we're just bailing them out. They're like, just thank you guys for bailing us out. And yeah, we just tried to do what we could with that. So it happens. Again, worthwhile. We're here in town. Hope you enjoyed today.
What's your last name?
SEE. Yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn. You can also connect with CZBs on LinkedIn. or CZBs on social media. See all my stupid videos on TikTok. Yeah, hope you enjoyed today.
Yeah, we don't do it with TikTok.
Thank you.
Hey, I mean, I'm 50 years old and I have TikTok. That's weird. My kids made me do it. All right.